Malakai, man, thank you so much. It's been years since I actually had the chance to speak to you. It was Download Festival with NXT many moons ago. Yeah, in our wellies and stuff. But here we are now, approaching Full Gear. And what a start to life you've had in AEW. I've richly enjoyed it. I just want to jump right into that first and foremost. House of Black, the presentation, all of that, man. I'm sure you've seen. Everybody is just loving the ideas coming to life. So on your way into AEW, conceptually, I guess, do you already have the picture painted once you speak to Tony Khan? Like, I guess you must have been itching to get this stuff to life after being on the sidelines, then getting back in. Finally, now you're running with a lot of what you wanted to, I guess.
Yeah, there was definitely like a bunch of plans conceived in that time frame that I was sitting at home that, that I'm like using now. I'd say a lot of it was something I presented. The mask came a little later, but the idea for what I wanted, this character to be has been on my table for a very long time. And, like if you sit home for 8-9 months with a mind like mine, which never slows down, never stops.
Yeah.
You get up to a lot of creative ideas. And I just write everything down. There's still like so much that I haven't used, haven't done, which is good because obviously I like to freshen things up every once in a while. It's good to add layers, and like as we're going, as the programs are going, those layers will manifest themselves when needed. It has to happen organically. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, like a lot of this is indeed stuff that I conjured up while sitting at home for like such a long period of time, and while like I had a lot of time to read, I had a lot of time to watch documentaries and really dive into like stuff that I find interesting, and like listen to music that that motivates and inspires me, and draw aesthetics from that, and draw like quotations from that, and ideologies and thought processes, and then like even going back into asking my dad for like our family history, and picking things out of stuff that happened in my actual family, my ancestry, that like that I could translate either from the perspective of the emotional display of what I do, or events that I could use and present in a pro wrestling confined world, to a larger audience. And when it initially happened, I had 2 days to convince Tony. Actually, I had one phone call to convince Tony. It was kind of one of those, well, this is everything I got. And if you hate it, I don't know what to do. If you like it, let's go. And I didn't have to convince him once. Like I explained to him what I wanted to do. I said how I wanted to do it. I explained the idea of the video that I was releasing, and he's like, I love everything about it. And in the true words of Tony Khan, he said, let's go, let's effing go. And that's, the rest is history, or at least still history in the making. But so far so good. Everything comes with thunderstorms, like sunshine and thunderstorms kind of, they exchange each other every once in a while. But for the most part, it's been sunshine, and the creative process, the communication has been absolutely great. I feel, for me personally, that I have advanced in a way that I could have never dreamed of within the realms of professional wrestling, within what I do. I truly feel that what I'm doing right now, or like at least what I'm also about, what basically, let's put it this way, where I am building towards is, from a creative point of view, the most involved and the most fulfilling that I have done so far. And I hope that I can look back, and I think even I say I hope, but I know I can look back and at least be proud of a lot of stuff that I've done. And this is definitely definitely in that like top 3 things. And if we keep continuing, it will be the number 1 thing that I like, that I hopefully do. And that's not diminishing anything other than I've done, because I have found love and passion in every installment of my career. I found love in my independent career, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have gone to WWE. And same thing, I found a lot of love in NXT, and in my own way, I have found love working on Raw and working on SmackDown. And you know what I mean? I've always been able to find things for myself that I could pour myself into. And even though they might have been minimal at times, I was still able to find them, because if there's one thing that I am really good at is changing my mindset and making sure that even the smaller things I can use and create to create bigger things. And this, I feel that from the days of Tommy End and Progress and ICW and WXW and Evolve, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, Big Japan, you know, I took all of that and I created it, and I put it in WWE, and then I molded it further and further. And now all this like ball of like experience and motivation that I have, I now use to shape this character as Malakai, and they are like evolutions of each other.
Sure.
And I just love that I've been able to pluck what I created in WWE and pluck what I created on the independents and stick them together and like work this whole new character out of it, and just use my experience. And like, you know, for anyone who's ever seen me on the indies, they realize that a lot of Tommy End is in this Malakai character. And that's what I like, because it's also the reason why initially I got signed to like larger companies, because this is what I'm used to. This is what people know me for, these sadistic occult characters that have a sense of like, you know, he's a dick, but he's right. I hate it. You know what I mean? And I've been able to like feel really satisfied to an extent, because I'm never satisfied, but satisfied to an extent working with Tony, working with, you know, others in AEW. I truly feel that it's a company where people like myself really find their place, basically.
Yeah, because that's a lot of things that you hear as well between, you know, people who, you know, first of all, what you said, all of the part of the journey, I guess, culminates and it helps along to where you get to. But in WWE, I guess the creative structure is so different. The infrastructure, I mean, you know, there being a lot of writers and a lot of different levels before Vince ultimately makes his decisions. Whereas here, of course, you get to more directly collaborate with Tony. So I guess for someone like yourself, you know, you kind of said it in the last answer there, having that process much more streamlined in AEW has not only helped you as a performer, but, you know, it's advanced you, like you said, you never thought could happen in wrestling.
Agreed. That's 100% what it is. Like, you know, Tony is a unique guy. Very, very, very unique individual, very high energy, very passionate, very motivated. And it rubs off on all of us. You know, everybody who's there wants to make AEW a better place. Like, and for me, it's never been about, you know, part one, like team one versus team two. I've always been like, I love professional wrestling, and I want to make my craft the best wherever I am at, where I'm in. I have an incredible amount of loyalty towards Tony because of the opportunity he has given me. I am really happy that I have a relationship with Tony where I can communicate with him if needed on a daily basis. I don't, because I don't want to bother him too much, because he's a very busy guy running a football club and an American football club, you know? Yeah. So it's very different than what I'm used to in the beginning. I definitely had to get used to it, because I was used to, you know, well, anything but that. And I think if you are able to exist in the environment of WWE, I think that moving to a company like AEW, like, is helpful. Like that, I'm glad that I went through the paces that I went with WWE, because it made me such a better performer and have so much more insight in what it means to be wrestling on TV. You know, being a character, working on TV, being a professional wrestler. You know, I've had so many different like point of views, and I'm really thankful for all of that. And I'm just extremely happy that I could take all that and now put all of that to work in a way that like fills my creative needs, and thus also like gives the fans like what they've been waiting for a very long time. And the good thing is, if we look at numbers and stuff, it's been very successful. So I'm like super happy that, like, you know, what we've been doing has just been good. You know, we always gotta tread lightly, you know, because you always got to be cautious of things, and not everything will always go perfect. But even then, like, if something doesn't go perfect, you go right back to reverting to like, okay, how do we damage control that? How can I change this? How can I influence this in a way that I can use it as an advantage versus a disadvantage? So wrestling, man, it's such a difficult thing. It's not as, excuse me, I'm drinking kombucha and it keeps like it's definitely not as simple as, oh yeah, here's a match, go at it. You know what I mean? At least, especially not for me. But the cool thing is, anyone I've ever talked to in regards to it, like whether that is like even from a point of view of a Shawn Michaels or an Undertaker, or like, like even like Miro, and now guys who are relatively newer to TV, like a guy like Eddie Kingston, right? When we have these conversations, it's all the same thing. Like there's so much layers to this stuff. There's like, like for the most people, they see what happens inside a ring. They see what happens in the lens of the camera. Like, you see what we want you to see. But there is an entire veil of like camera work and lighting technicians and like camera angles and all that stuff that you have to know and learn and realize. And until you do, like it's such a difficult, process. And I remember the first time we spoke, I was just learning all of that. Despite being NXT champion, I was still, being like every week, and still to this day, because I still train wrestling every week. I've not once stopped going to training. Every single time we do it, I learn new things. And every single time I'm on TV, there's different viewpoints that I catch and different ways of like, oh, here's a camera, let me move this way. You know what I mean? It's how can I give, okay, so this is what's happening to me. How do I translate that? Because I've got a camera, which is my biggest lens right now. And how do I want to translate what I'm doing to the audience at home? How would I want them to feel with how I'm feeling right now? Right. You know what I mean? It's a very like, it's like an emotional chess game that you continuously like mirror back and forth. Wrestling is, it's a very on the fly kind of performance arts sports. And because I do want to call it a sport. It is a sport, absolutely. It's just not a sport in a conventional setting.